Good morning, everyone. I'm Karen and I'm 26. I've been in a relationship with Adam for a while now. He's my partner in crime. We met at college and we've been together ever since. But today, I'm not going to talk about our love story. Instead, I'm going to share something that I did, which was, I know this is very unlike me, but I was out with my friends for my bachelorette party, and I got carried away. I'm now trying to decide whether I should tell Adam about it or just forget about it and move on. It's going to be a long post, so get ready for a wild ride. Adam and I had been together right from break-in. We were in the same classes from the start of college and quickly became close friends. As we worked through the challenges of our coursework together, we supported and encouraged each other. I was used to an all-girls school, and Adam was my first experience of a guy outside of my family. Adam's presence in my life brought a refreshing change, allowing me to see the world from a different perspective. His easygoing nature and sense of humor made our friendship feel effortless, and I soon realized that he was becoming more than just a friend to me. I wondered if he felt the same way about me as time went on. I started to notice subtle signs that made me question if Adam felt the same way. The way he looked at me, the inside jokes we shared, and the increasing amount of time we spent together all seemed to suggest that there might be something more between us than just friendship. However, I couldn't help but feel hesitant to bring up my feelings. I started to notice little signs that made me wonder if Adam felt the same way. Things like how he looked at me, the inside jokes we shared, and the amount of time we spent together all seemed to suggest that there might be something more between us than just friendship. However, I was still a bit hesitant to bring up my feelings. By the time we were about to leave college, I was still unsure about my feelings for Adam. I think he was worried that if he made a move, it might affect our friendship. Maybe he felt the same way and was waiting for me to make the first move. Despite our strong connection and the countless hours we spent together, there was still no romantic tension between us. I couldn't help but wonder if taking a leap of faith and expressing my feelings would bring us closer, or risk losing everything we had built. Adam's parents had organized a graduation party at home for us. It felt surreal that it had already been 3 years and we were going to be graduates. I got dressed and left for the party. The vibe of the decorations and everything else felt different to the theme of the graduation. I was asked to wait in the backyard for a while as Adam was getting ready. That seemed a bit strange, as I had seen him even in his comfy shirts during our studies at home. I started walking along his backyard and noticed a few things hanging from the tree. I walked to the tree and started seeing what it was. There were pictures of me and Adam hung on the tree, capturing our memories throughout our years of friendship. It was a heartwarming surprise, and I couldn't help but smile as I reminisced about the countless moments we had shared together. Was this a sign that Adam was going to? I was really overwhelmed with emotions, and I knew that if at this moment Adam would come up to me and ask me out, I would have said yes with tears in my eyes. Adam's mom came back and asked me to get in. I went into the living room, which was dark and only lit with very few candles. It was difficult for me to navigate as I hit my leg as I started to walk forward, so I just stood still, waiting for my eyes to adjust to the darkness. It was still too dark to take a step, but I could hear Adam from a distance telling me to make sure I didn't bump into anything. I finally reached the place where I could see a little, and the lights went on. As I got there was Adam on his knees with a ring in his hand. I was really surprised and happy to see that Adam was proposing to me. I started to cry, and I said yes and hugged him tightly. My heart was racing. I was really excited to accept his proposal because I knew this moment would be forever etched in our memories. Adam told me that he would always be there for me, helping me find my way just like he did when I was feeling down. It was so sweet and profound that I can't even imagine having a more perfect proposal than this. We decided to get married after a year because Adam knew how much I wanted the perfect wedding. I guess it's my fault that I grew up in an all-girls school and fantasized about movies like 27 Dresses and Bride Wars. I felt like I needed a year to make sure that every detail of our wedding was planned and executed to perfection. From the venue to the flowers, I wanted everything to be picture perfect. Plus, I wanted ample time to find the dress of my dreams and ensure that all my bridesmaids were on board with their roles and responsibilities. I also wanted to take the time to understand Adam's preferences and incorporate them into our special day, ensuring that it reflected us as a couple. I asked my friends to help me choose the venue and my wedding dress, as we had all attended the same school as teenagers and talked a lot about the kind of guy we would marry and the details of the venue and the dress. I was just as excited as I knew I should be. The wedding was now a month away, and it had always been my fantasy to get married to the guy I loved at a destination wedding with all my friends as my bridesmaids. It was finally happening, and I couldn't have asked for anything more. As the big day approached, I found myself growing more and more excited. I was also very grateful for the support, and I was lucky to have the support of my friends throughout the whole process. We'd shared so many dreams and aspirations together, and now we were seeing one of them come true. I was also really grateful to Adam for understanding my fantasies and desires and not getting annoyed with my enthusiasm for the wedding preparations. Adam wanted to give me a week's break before the wedding so that I could relax and treat myself without worrying about the wedding. We flew out. A week before the wedding, I checked into a hotel in Miami and went to my room. All my girlfriends were waiting for me there to give me a surprise. They decorated the room with balloons, streamers, and a banner that read, "Bride to Be." I was really happy and grateful for having such amazing friends who went above and beyond to make me feel special. We spent the evening laughing, reminiscing, and eating delicious treats as we celebrated. The wedding was the perfect start to my week of relaxation and pampering before saying I do. My girlfriends had organized a bachelor party for me 2 days before my wedding. Adam was the only guy I had ever been with. On the way to the club, my friends kept teasing me for not trying to experiment or even consider having a little bit of experience with other guys before I decided to tie the knot. I always felt that I had. I was lucky that Adam was my first boyfriend, and I knew I could rely on him. I didn't feel the need to look for anyone else because Adam had everything I wanted in a husband. I was confident in my decision to marry Adam because our relationship had always been fulfilling and loving. However, as my wedding day approached, I had a small doubt. I wondered what it would be like to have experienced other relationships. Nevertheless, I knew deep down that Adam was the right choice for me. I knew Adam was the one for me, and that our love was strong enough to withstand any doubts or curiosity. I trusted my instincts and believed that true love doesn't require comparison or exploration. The comments from my friends did make me wonder if I was missing out on something, but my unwavering love and satisfaction for Adam reassured me that I had made the right choice. The party was at a club that my friends had shortlisted because it had the best bar. The music was spot on, there were plenty of drinks, and it was the perfect atmosphere. My friends were encouraging me to let go and enjoy myself without worrying about the consequences. I was initially a little hesitant, but I felt a little bad for being a spoilsport as they had put so much effort in to make sure I had fun. So I decided that I should agree to their demands and have a little fun just for today. I ordered a round of tequila shots. It was a way of showing my friends that I was on board with what they had planned for me. As the night went on, the atmosphere became more lively and carefree. There was a lot of laughter and cheers, which made me feel more free. I let go of my worries and embraced the moment. I realized that sometimes it's important to indulge in spontaneous experiences without overthinking about the consequences. I wanted to show my friends that I could be fun and crazy and not be stuck up. We kept going to the bar, and I ordered another round of shorts. I was on my last shot when I felt a pair of unfamiliar hands on my back. I turned around and saw that it was a male stripper. I'd asked my friends not to plan something wild and crazy like this, but my friends, being my friends, didn't listen to anything I told them. The male stripper held my hand and took me to the dance floor. He started his sexy moves, trying to impress me. I decided to act as if I was enjoying myself and danced along with him. I tried to match his moves and be in the moment. He slowly made his way to the center of the dance floor and made me sit on a chair that was waiting for me. There was a spotlight on the chair, and everybody around me started cheering for me to take the seat. There was an announcement from the DJ to give it up for the soon-to-be bride. I didn't want to. I didn't want to ruin the fun, so I went ahead and took the spot I was supposed to. The stripper then started dancing around me and then gave me a lap dance. I was feeling all kinds of things in my stomach that I wasn't sure if it was because of the drinks or the lap dance. I told my friends that I needed some air and got out of the club. I puked everything that I had been drinking and was feeling much better. I went back inside and made my way to the bar. I was trying to ask for some water, but the bartender was too busy to even look in my direction. He was busy flirting with another girl. I was about to give up when I noticed a bottle of water placed beside me. I felt very unsure, as it might have been spiked. To my surprise, it was unsealed, so I opened it and drank. I was feeling so good after hydrating myself that I noticed that the guy on my right was looking at me. I looked over at him and saw him smiling at me. I gave him a look that I thought was pretty annoying, because I knew guys always thought it was easy to pick up girls at a bar. He said that usually in such situations people say thank you. I wasn't interested in talking to him and was about to go back to my friends when he asked if he could get his water back. I felt embarrassed that he was trying to help me, and here I was being pretty mean to him. I told him he said I could make it up to him. I felt bad for judging him too quickly, so I agreed. He asked me to spend some time with him and act as his girlfriend in front of his friends who were at the dance floor. I wasn't sure if he was just making up stories to get talking to me or if he was really serious. I decided to see for myself and that it would be okay if it was true. I would just be helping someone in need. I agreed, and we went with him to the dance floor, holding each other's hands. He pulled me by my hand and took me to where his friends were. He introduced me as his girlfriend, but nobody would believe him. They said that the only way they could believe that I was his girlfriend was if we kissed each other. Things were getting pretty awkward, and it would be pretty ridiculous for me to do something like kiss a stranger on the spot. I was trying to think of a way to get out of this situation. Before I could even react, he kissed me. It was a very passionate and intense kiss. I couldn't stop myself from kissing him back. I almost forgot that I didn't know him. He looked at all his friends and told them. If they believed it now, they all seemed satisfied that I was his girlfriend. He excused us from them and said we were going to the bar for a few more drinks. He kept apologizing for what he did back there, saying he had no choice but to make sure his friends weren't making fun of him for not having a girlfriend. I told him it wasn't okay, but I understood where he was coming from. We ordered a few drinks. We got some drinks, and he told me that it was on him for what he did just now. I was tempted to refuse, but he was insistent. The DJ started playing one of my favorite songs, and I pulled him to the dance floor. We started dancing, and I'm not sure if it was the alcohol or the kiss that took over me. I started swaying to the beat of the song and whispered in his ear that he was a good kisser. He smiled at me and whispered very slowly in my ear. If I wanted more of it, there was no harm in flirting with a stranger. We'd never meet again in our lives. I'd be married in the next 2 days, and he'd be, finding a girlfriend perhaps. I thought there was no harm in being a little naughty. Today was all about letting go. I took my face very close to his lips and pecked them lightly. That was a cue to him. He kissed me back, quite aggressively. There was something different about the way he kissed me that I really liked. After making out for a while, I realized that my friends might be searching for me. I told him to wait on the dance floor and that I'd be right back. I found my friends who were searching for me outside. I went to them and told them that I wasn't feeling too well and that I had to go home. My friends asked if there was anything else I would miss. They told me the stripper was the last thing on the agenda, so I was happy I wouldn't ruin their fun. They asked if they could help me get back to the hotel. I said I was fine. I knew I was being a bad friend by ditching them in the middle of a party they'd organized for me, but they had a point. They told me that today would be my last day of freedom. I promised never to do anything as random as this again. I thanked them for everything they had done for me and for all their help with the wedding preparations. I was grateful to have such wonderful friends. I went to the dance floor and looked for the guy I had just met. I found him waiting. I found him on the dance floor, just where I'd left him. I pulled his hand and took him out of the club. Once we got out of all that music and noise, I asked him if he had a car. He looked at me with mischief in his eyes, as if he understood what I was thinking. I told him it wasn't what he thought. I just wanted to get out of there. We got in the car and sat in silence for a minute. I was waiting for him to drive, but I don't know what he was waiting for. After about a minute, I looked at him with a puzzled face. He said that he was still drunk and couldn't drive. I was about to get out of the car when he suddenly pulled me towards him and started kissing me. I tried to resist for about 10 seconds, but he was so good that I just couldn't stop myself. He kept whispering sweet nothings in my ear that made me blush. He asked me to we move to the back seat as it was more spacious. We started kissing again and undressed each other without breaking the kiss. After making out and being completely spent, we just hugged and lay down together. This was the wildest thing I had ever done. It had always been my fantasy to make out in a car. Adam had never been wild. He was always well-disciplined and well-mannered. He was always a gentleman, never allowing me to do anything stupid or crazy. What I did just now felt so right and so good that I forgot about everything else. After lying naked for a long time, we slowly got up and dressed ourselves. As I was about to leave his car, he told me that I was the wildest person he had ever come across. I could tell that he was a smooth talker. I thanked him for the compliment and decided to leave when he got up and came closer to me and kissed me again. It was really difficult for me to leave. I just wanted to keep kissing him for a really long time. He knew he had that effect on me. He whispered in my ear that there was a motel nearby where we could crash for the night. He was drunk, so he couldn't drive me home. He said he wouldn't like for me to go all by myself so late at night. He told me that he would be sober by morning and could drop me home. I knew exactly where this was going, but I pretended not to and agreed to what he was saying. This was probably the last time I would be meeting him, as I really wanted to make the most out of tonight's situation. It was like a sign from God to forget everything and enjoy. We went to the motel and got out of the car and walked towards the room. We'd booked a room for the night, and on the way there, we'd bought a few bottles of beer. We sat on the bed, and there was an awkward silence. I decided to break it by opening a can of beer and passing it to the guy. We started drinking. I knew that being sober wouldn't help. As we drank, we became a little more relaxed and started kissing each other. I could see that both of us would be blaming the alcohol in the morning for whatever happened that night. We started making out again on the bed, which was much more spacious than the backseat of the car. To be honest, I was enjoying the bed much better, as it had more room to access a lot of parts that I previously grunged over. We ended up having sex and touching each other everywhere, and we were both moaning loudly. After a while, we got tired and just lay on the bed. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had so much fun having sex with Adam. I woke up the next morning to the sound of my alarm blaring in the room. I tried to find my phone, but everything looked so different and so new that I didn't realize where I was. I finally found I pulled my phone out and switched off the alarm. I sat on the floor trying to make sense of where I was. This definitely wasn't my hotel room. I tried to recollect the events from last night and looked at the bed. There was someone sleeping on the bed completely naked. I had no idea who it was. I didn't realize that I was naked myself. Oh, did I just make out with someone I met yesterday at the lake? I don't even know his name. I wasn't that drunk that I don't remember what I was doing. I mean, I do remember what I did, but it was not like me to act this way. My head was spinning. I did not know if it was because of the hangover or the realization of what had happened last night. I started looking for my clothes, dressed myself, and slowly gathered my belongings and rushed out of the room, making sure that whoever was sleeping did not wake up. It would have been too embarrassing if he woke up and started to have a conversation about last night. I really didn't want to talk to him or anything. I was just happy to get out of there unnoticed and without any more hassle. I got into a taxi and started making my way towards the hotel we were staying at. I pulled out my phone and saw loads of messages and missed calls from my friends and Adam. I was really panicking because I didn't know how to handle the situation. Should I tell the truth or lie to them? It was my wedding tomorrow, and I knew for sure that I didn't want the events from last night to affect my wedding in any way. I tried going through my friends' messages, but they were all just worried about whether I'd reached the hotel. I wasn't answering calls or messages, so they came and knocked on the door, but I never answered. They were worried I'd got sick right before the wedding. There was no sign of me in my room, but at least they didn't think I was in there. I saw Adam's messages saying he'd come to my room in the morning, but I wouldn't open them. He was worried too and wanted to make sure that I was okay. I looked at the time and it was almost noon. Should I tell Adam that I slept with my friends because I was too drunk after the bachelorette party, or should I just come clean to him about last night's events? I couldn't think straight. As the hangover was killing me, I decided to first reach the hotel and then decide how things panned out. There was no use sitting in the car and panicking when I wasn't aware of the situation on the ground. I slowly sneaked into my hotel room, making sure none of my friends or Adam caught me. I quickly showered. I got dressed and called my friends to tell them I was pretty sore last night, so I couldn't answer any calls or texts. They were happy that I finally let myself out last night and had a good time. They told me that from tomorrow, I would have to be the proper and elegant wife of Mr. Adam Baker, and they all laughed. I laughed along with them, mostly because I was nervous and guilty. They knew I let myself go and how they would have fainted if I shared the details from last night. They wouldn't even believe me. For a second, they never saw me with the guy. Well, it was a good thing for them not to know. They might blurt it out during the wedding and mess up everything. I decided not to tell a single soul about last night. After dealing with my friends, it was now time to deal with Adam. I took a deep breath and made my way to his room. He opened the door and let me in. I told him the same story that I told my friends. If I was going to lie, then I might as well keep it consistent. I didn't want to get caught up in my own lies. We all then gathered. During the dress rehearsal, as I walked down the aisle, I saw Adam standing at the aisle and the best man standing beside him. I was shocked to see the best man. He was the guy from last night at the bar. He had an innocent smile on his face, as if he didn't even recognize me. I composed myself and continued walking down the aisle. I had been a nervous wreck since I saw him here of all the places in the world. Everyone kept asking me to relax and calm down. They thought it was wedding jitters, but they had no idea. I was really nervous as I stood at the altar. I couldn't help but wonder if he remembered our encounter. I was flooded with memories of last night, which made it hard for me to focus on the joyous occasion unfolding before me. I silently prayed that he wouldn't say or do anything. I was really hoping he wouldn't remember anything from last night. From the look on his face, it didn't seem like he remembered anything, and he didn't try to tell Adam about it either. I took a deep breath and decided to relax for a moment. After all, it was my wedding day, which I had planned for an entire year. After the dress rehearsal, I let out a sigh of relief and went to my room. I locked the door and fell to the ground, releasing all my nervousness. My friends kept knocking at the door to check on me. I let them in when they asked me if I was okay. I looked very pale and nervous throughout the entire event. I told them I still had a hangover and hadn't completely sobered up. Maybe if I rested a bit, I would feel better. Of course I was. I decided not to tell anyone what happened last night. If no one knows, then no one will talk about it. It's simple and effective. After they left, Adam came to my room and asked me if everything was okay. He joked that I might be having second thoughts about the wedding. I pushed him away and told him not to joke around. As per the rules, he was not allowed to come to my room. I pushed him out of the room and told him that I would see him tomorrow at the altar. There was a knock again, and I knew it would be Adam. Without thinking, I opened the door to tell him to just go. My face went pale when I saw the guy from the bar. I looked around and quickly pulled him inside. I didn't want things to get out of hand at the last minute. I made him sit down and begged him not to tell anyone about last night. I explained that it was a mistake and that I was engaged to Adam and it was my bachelorette party last night. I sounded desperate as I promised to make it up to him somehow. I pleaded for his understanding. The guy from the bar seemed taken aback by my beichten. He seemed to believe me, and his expression softened as he listened, hoping I wouldn't tell anyone. I was really hoping he'd keep my secret. I was waiting for his response, praying he'd agree to stay silent about our encounter. After a minute, he told me he'd known Adam since childhood and was also Adam's best man at the wedding tomorrow. I was half relieved, thinking maybe he'd stay silent if he cared about his friendship with Adam. He told me he would, but also said he couldn't ignore what he felt with me last night. He kept pressing me, asking if I hadn't felt there was definitely a spark between us last night, but it could also have been because of the alcohol. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to respond. We had a strong connection, but I couldn't ignore the potential consequences it could have on my wedding day. I told him that I truly loved Adam and would do anything to make sure our wedding went smoothly without any complications. He said that then there was nothing else he could do if I had made my decision. He'd have to agree to my wishes. I was relieved when he stopped and said he wasn't gaining anything from it. I'd marry Adam just like I wanted to. Adam wouldn't know about our encounter, but what was he getting out of all this? I was trying to explain. It was difficult to explain to him that he would gain Adam's friendship for life. He didn't look convinced, so I agreed to keep it a secret. He came close to me and whispered he'd always wanted to have sex with the bride as the best man. I was shocked and took a step back. He smiled and said we just had to continue where we left off yesterday. It wouldn't be difficult. He also said he was too drunk to enjoy last night, and it was a good thing he was sober now. He said this was the only way, or he'd go straight to Adam's room after. I felt pushed to a wall with no choice. I made him promise not to tell Adam. He reluctantly agreed to his demand and came towards me. We passionately started kissing each other, which surprised me. I knew that he was blackmailing me into doing this, but I was actually enjoying it. He was a really good kisser. Within minutes, we undressed and were on the bed. We had wild sex. Now that I was in my senses, I could tell that this was by far the best sex I had so far. After we were done, I quickly covered myself and asked him to leave. I opened the door to make sure that there was no one around before asking him to step out. It was D. On the day of the wedding, I was feeling pretty nervous. I was worried that something would go wrong, even if it was just a little thing. Everyone kept telling me that I looked very pretty in my dress. My mind was racing with thoughts of what Adam was doing and whether his best man would keep his promise. I was jumping with excitement every time someone gave me an update. I was expecting it to be the news that the wedding was being called off, so it was finally time for me to walk down the aisle. I could see Adam looking very smart and with his best smile, looking at me, and then my eyes looked at his best man, who winked and gave me a wicked smile. I decided to focus entirely on Adam. As it was our big day and I didn't want anyone to ruin it for us, we took our vows and were finally pronounced husband and wife. I'd like to ask you all for your advice on what I should do going forward. It's now 1 week since my wedding with Adam, but I'm still feeling guilty. I had no clue that a random night with a random stranger changed the course of my life. One day, he was a stranger, and the next day he was my soon-to-be husband. Toby's best man, my life was suddenly more complicated. Should I tell Adam about everything that happened between me and the stranger? I could ask for forgiveness and promise that I would never let this happen again. Would that be enough? I don't want Adam to know from somewhere else. I'd also like to know if there's any risk to my marriage, which is still new, by telling Adam the full story from that night. Please advise. I'm struggling to decide what's best for me and for my relationship with Adam. I'd love to hear your opinions and thoughts.